Since the dawn of history, man's goal has been to create a society free from drudgery, hunger, and disease, not only for himself, but as a legacy to pass on to his children. But only after the founding of our free society was the atmosphere created in which he could reach his goal. He worked and planned, built and innovated and grew. Eventually, he was able to provide not only the necessities of life for himself and his children, but he could dream of acquiring some of the luxuries as well. Has man's dream of his children's future ended in a nightmare? The end of World War II found America up from the depths of depression to the most affluent society known in history. Business was booming. To capture these ready dollars, Madison Avenue turned to psychologists to analyze what motivated people to buy. Their studies revealed not only what motivated people, but techniques that could be used to create new desires in people, to change the philosophies of security and saving to the philosophy of spending. Techniques were developed to attach a stigma to the old or the used, to shame people into buying, and to glorify the new and the different, whether it had quality or not. It became apparent that for the first time, American youth had plenty of money also, and motivational research revealed that the influence of what has been called progressive education had produced a generation of youngsters, many of whom were more concerned with being accepted by groups their own age than they were with their own individualism. Among this generation of susceptible youngsters, fads came in epidemic proportions. The mass media helped to create the fads, and profits poured in for those merchandisers who successfully capitalized on the fads. Parents had learned from Dr. Spock, and youth had learned from progressive education. They conformed. They went from one fad to the next, and they spent their dollars. One of the most potent forces in leading youth in and out of these mass behavior patterns was music. There was the zoot suiter and his boogie-woogie, then bebop, leather jackets, ducktails, the Ivy Leaguer and cool jazz, the surfers' rock and roll, twist, the froog, and now the mod look, and folk rock, to name just a few. The technique of combining music with mass merchandising brought near total control of the purchasing habits of a whole generation. Many record companies slipped money to obliging disc jockeys for their repetitious playing of specific records. For youngsters were so easily influenced that if the record was being played frequently on the radio, and if they were told it was a hit, they would buy the record. Since merchandisers had demonstrated time after time that music could change the buying habits, clothing styles, and behavior patterns of youth, others concluded that music could be used to mold their philosophy, and new kinds of influence could be worked by putting a message into song lyrics. In recent years, we have seen the songs Teeny Weeny Polka Dot Bikini revolutionize teenage swimwear, and Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes create a new footwear style. But moving from fashions to popularizing ideas. The Ticky-Tack song, written by identified communist Malvina Reynolds, pictured America as a martini-drinking population in an assembly line rut. And We Shall Overcome, written by identified communist Pete Seeger, was inspirational to civil rights marches, campus demonstrations, and riots all over the nation. Public acceptance of such messages by music gave birth to still another music fad, the protest song. Repetitious playing of these protest songs has brought a curious group of singers into national prominence. Joan Baez, who believes the Star-Spangled Banner is trash. Phil Ox and his Draft Dodger Rag. And Len Chandler with his hit, Beans in My Ears. Bob Dylan, according to CBS Vice President Clyde Davis, is the leading cultural force among young people today. This is the same Bob Dylan whose recordings, "The Times Are Changing," made questioning the American concept of standards the in thing to do, and "Rainy Day Woman," which any junkie knows is a marijuana cigarette, are best sellers with hundreds of thousands of young record buyers. Bob Dylan was an obscure songwriter until he signed a contract with Columbia Records. The man responsible for Dylan's contract at Columbia was John Hammond. It isn't surprising that John Hammond would be interested in Dylan's brand of culture, for Mr. Hammond, according to official United States government records, has made himself a party to at least 7 communist fronts. In order for Dylan and his curious band of contemporaries to so blatantly deliver their revolutionary and anti-society messages to the younger generation, parents had to be kept unaware. It was necessary for the music makers to establish a language easily understood by the youths, but foreign to the parents. Your first chance: turn on any rock and roll radio station in any city and listen closely. The language in the song lyrics combines the slang of prostitutes, drug addicts, con artists, and pool hustlers with the jargon of beatniks. As the language caught on, the people who understood it were hip, and youths who adopted the jargon for their own use became known as hippies or hipsters. Choice of the word hip was a boon for the message movers because it replaced the negative image of the beatnik with a more positive image. If you were hip, you were in. With parents unable to understand the language and unaware of the intent, message movers behind the coming drug fad had their own electronic pipeline to the youngsters. They were with them more than the parents were, at the beach, in the bedroom, in the car, walking to school. Across the nation, with literally thousands of radio stations spinning records such as 8 Miles High, Rainy Day Woman, Pipe Dream, or the Beatles' Tomorrow Never Knows, all which can be interpreted as describing the use and effects of LSD and marijuana, drug addiction has increased sharply, jumping 600% in areas of Southern California alone. To the drug-using hippies, the mesmerizing eye is symbolic. It relates to the hallucinatory state produced by LSD, which enables the drug user to see things he believes others cannot. Ads such as this, which feature the symbolic, mesmerizing eye, seem to have the greatest appeal to the in group. Helping music get the drug message through to American youth, a network of underground newspapers has sprung up across the country. Tied together by an organized underground press service, the network already boasts of a circulation over 250,000. The Berkeley Barb is typical of these publications. A parent seeing this front page might shrug off the cartoon as perhaps just trashy. But to a hippie, it means the third all-seeing eye of the LSD user. A user on an LSD trip is supposed to feel a oneness with the world, thus the girl with the flowers. The Barb is owned by 51-year-old bearded beatnik Max Scherer. His paper is a classic example of the political plus sexual propaganda. Using a Lenny Bruce style, it diabolically attacks every standard of American society. And in the vernacular of the hipster, anyone who rejects the garbage in this paper just isn't hip. A popular part in the underground paper is this section called the unclassified advertising, which features such blatant sexual solicitations as lonely gay male student, 30, employed nights, seeks gay or bi guy, 18 to 29, to share his cheap furnished room near LACC, rent-free, should be hip or hippie type. Help, help. Attractive young girl wants to blow home soon. Real swinger needs financial help to move to strip. I am selling some very unusual nude pics of myself to finance my move. As I get to know you better, pics get better. Male disciple, 30, pleasant and eager, seeking aggressive, domineering female disciplinarian. Repeat, female only. From all directions, youngsters are on the receiving end of a barrage of obscenities and subversive material by the printed word, and of double entendre and off-color lyrics in music. What's the result? Simply that homosexuality, wife-swapping, masochism, and premarital relations are made to appear to be as natural as a child's craving for ice cream. It is small wonder, then, that young hippies are attracted to organizations like the Sexual Freedom League, headed by Jefferson Polland, who is also a member of the International Workers of the World, one of the oldest communist fronts in America. To understand how degenerate the sexual freedom clubs are, one has only to read such articles as this in the Berkeley Gazette community paper, which describes a police raid on a club party. This one was held in an old house on Berkeley's Telegraph Avenue, directly across from Willard Junior High School. The story reports that the two youths last week said they heard about the party several weeks ago and paid $1 each upon entering. They said they were told at the door there is plenty of liquor inside and it is all free. Their first encounter was with a woman who wore nothing but a blouse and was being chased by several nude males. The two decided to go upstairs to get away from the nudes, they told police. They opened a door to find a bedroom with wall-to-wall mattresses over which several small infants crawled. A couple was engaged in intercourse, they said, oblivious to the children in the room. When the 16-year-old girl came out of an upstairs bathroom, she was accosted by several nude males, she said. The boy and girl said there also appeared to be homosexual activities. This incident is not a unique or isolated situation, but is often encountered during routine police investigations. After a while, sex for the young hippie fails to provide the desired stimulus, and he is told he is suffering from sexual inhibitions. To eliminate this, he is advised to turn to grass, weed, pot, tea, or rainy day woman, each of which simply means marijuana. The thrill of marijuana is short-lived, and the hippie is then advised to drop acid and vibrate, hipster language to describe sexual relations while under the influence of LSD. Lysergic acid, or LSD, is sending many youngsters over the brink and into psychoneurotic institutions from which many of them may never return. To those who do not go over the brink with LSD, the next narcotic in drug escalation is speed, or crystals, hip names for the dangerous drug methadone. This drug is mainlined, injected into the main veins of the body. But as any real hipster knows, you're not really grooving until you've tried smack. What this means in plain language is that to drug users, heroin is still the ultimate. This is an ad for Mellow Yellow, made from the scrapings of banana peels. Although the Federal Food and Drug Commission stated that there are no traces of any harmful drugs in these scrapings, Mellow Yellow plays an important part in the drug picture. Most young people know of the tragic after effects and thus have a psychological barrier against taking drugs. But the naive, inexperienced youth, eager to enter the much publicized world of the hippies, can send for his own Mellow Yellow instructions to experiment with. He experiences no effects from it, but he thinks he is taking drugs. And once the barrier is breached, it is easy to substitute the real thing for Mellow Yellow. The legal representative for the promoters of Mellow Yellow is Hallinan and Sons of San Francisco. Vincent Hallinan, the father, a millionaire Marxist and propagandist for Fidel Castro, is shown here attending a civil rights rally in San Francisco. But how does the tune-in, turn-on, and drop-out message get to the kids? Through record albums such as this one, manufactured by Epic Records, a subsidiary of CBS Incorporated. To comprehend the spreading growth of the hippie movement, let's look at a few examples. This is Ramparts Magazine, an expensive left-wing publication for the young pseudo-intellectual. Until recently, its Hate America gobbledygook was so obvious that the magazine was rejected by the majority of college students. The magazine's mysteriously financed $1 million a year budget helped bring graphic arts recognition. But a circulation of only 74,000 by October 1966, even after a costly 2-year major advertising campaign. Apparently, it was the nationally ballyhooed riot of teeny boppers and hippies on the Sunset Strip which boosted Rampart's circulation. This exploitation of the new generation and other student-related muckraking stories shot Rampart's circulation to nearly 220,000 by March 1967, just 6 months later. Robert Scheer is managing editor of Ramparts. He is purported to be the most articulate spokesman of the New Left, and is noted for his ability to motivate University of California at Berkeley radicals in carrying out their much publicized demonstrations. When Scheer ran for Congress in November 1966, his campaign was run by Carl Blois, an admitted communist, a reporter for the communist newspaper People's World, and now its Washington, D.C. correspondent. The type of philosophy supported by Scheer has motivated other activists in the past, such as this fellow member of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee.